Hello, let's see if we're going live.
And we are live.
We're
All
live.
right.
Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our first day of Opening to Your Soul Pre-Launch Speaker Summit. We're stoked to have you here. Welcome, everyone, in our galactic community. It's good to have you here. Let us know where you're coming from.
Totally.
If you're
Say
hopping on,
hello.
say hello in the comments. And if you're catching the replay, type hashtag replay. And let us know how you're doing, too. It's definitely a crazy Uh, the cosmic weather is quite interesting lately. So let us know how you're faring in this weather.
We're getting to the end of this galactic year, so time starts to exponentially increase.
Mm,
We are on day 10 of the new galactic spin, which is planetary dog. So
mm.
it's a manifesting love day.
Manifesting love
Manifesting
day.
love. Yes.
Nice.
All right.
We got everyone tagged on there.
I did. We will be getting started here very shortly. We're going to give a couple more minutes for people to get on.
Hmm.
And Rachel, if you would like to join us in the Zoom room, that'd be amazing.
Sure. Yes. Uh, so first, I would like to introduce ourselves. If in case you haven't seen us yet, I know there's a lot of new people in our group. We haven't been live recently for quite a little bit.
Yes.
So hello, welcome. My name is Andrew, and this is my lovely wife, Alana, and we're the founders of the No Genesis Foundation, which is an Institute of Sacred Sciences and a nonprofit 508c1a, and also the founders of this lovely group that you find yourselves in, the Mind of Light Galactic Community. So we have a really special presentation to share with everyone today and for the next 3 days.
It's kind of an anniversary, though.
It
It's
is.
the anniversary of our Spirit Quest. And for those of you that have been with us for a while, a year ago, we ran a 5-day Spirit Quest challenge.
Hmm. That's
And
good.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was one of our best launches ever.
We had so much engagement in
Yes,
it. So many people attended, and we made some good friends too.
we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Shout out to all the people that we connected with last year for our Spirit Quest.
Yes.
Hmm. So here we are again, and we are circling right back around
Right.
to the same material with new insights and a lot of experience that has happened through the years.
Okay. So, Wes Woolley, hey, brother, if you want to join us in the Zoom room, you're welcome. And Rachel, you can join us too.
Oh, sorry, I don't think they have the Zoom link.
Okay.
That's fine. So, in case you didn't know, we're live streaming this directly into our group instead of having attendees coming onto the Zoom. So, want to let you know that the purpose of this 3-day summit,
Mhm.
what we're doing is, well, first of all, if you are on a transformation path
Mhm.
and you are coming into your leadership, you're feeling the call to rise, to step up, and to transform your life into a valuable service for the collective, for humankind. And if you're on an awakening path, a path of self-actualization, then this summit is for you. You are in the right place. So awesome. Thanks for being here. And so, some backstory. Last year, we ran a 6-month cohort
Mhm.
with 19 beautiful souls that joined us. And this was called Opening to Your Soul, the Six Gates. And basically, it was a really incredible experience as we dove into this work, which is called basically the premise of this work is to discover and open to your soul, to find the thing that you came here to do on the planet, to awaken your soul mission and purpose.
And to remember the truth of who you really are. It's
Exactly.
really about coming into remembrance.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
exactly. Coming into remembrance. And so it provides a framework in order to do
Mhm.
so, involving 6 gates that we all pass through together. And it was really an incredible experience to be with everyone through this process.
Mhm.
And we made everyone who joined us. We became such good friends, and our friendships have only gotten stronger ever since. And we've all been supporting each other
Yes.
through massive growth phases.
Right.
So
We did this really cool
it's really
thing
beautiful.
that with everyone that joined us, we assigned quest partners throughout the 6 months
Mhm.
so that everyone would get to know each other and do the work with each other and sort of like share their gifts and expand their esoteric knowledge.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of us, went on to stepping into more leadership and becoming spiritual life coaches,
Yes.
and went on to some of our other programs in our No Genesis network, such as the Mind of Light
Mhm.
Spiritual Life Coaching certification program, and growing through that and beginning to develop some really amazing offerings. And so we're excited so we have brought 5 of our graduates
Mhm.
to join us for this summit and to tell their stories from their perspective of how this work has transformed their lives and what they've been doing,
Yes.
basically, from all of this.
Yes.
So thought this would be a really cool, just really chill experience to kind of just let everyone speak and be inspired.
Yes.
So we have a very special event coming up.
We do. Yeah.
And you may have heard already if you've been tuning in.
Mhm.
And so in about a week after the summit.
Yes. It's going to start on the first day of this galactic new year. It's July 26th. So we wanted it to be in conjunction with Galactic New Year so that we would all get an opportunity to reset and refresh together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So what this is basically last year's course that was a 6 month long process. We are condensing into a 5 day online spiritual retreat to highlight the key parts of the
Mm-hmm.
whole program altogether. And so it's going to be a deep dive. It's going to be it's going to be thorough. And each day we're going to probably be spending around 2 or so hours really deepening into this work of awakening. And are inviting you.
Yes.
And we have a very, very special offer and discount for you guys that is on the table currently.
Yes.
And it's only lasting until the end of today. So, for those of you who have been following us and who are interested in this work, this is something that you won't want to miss because the discount on this is ginormous. So,
Do we
we're
want to talk about that?
I think what we want to do is we want to talk about it at the end of today.
Okay.
So stick with us till the
Okay.
end and you will hear about it. And so you won't miss this opportunity.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
All right. Let's
Okay.
get going then.
So we want to get into the backstory of how this work came to be. And so I want to hand it over to you, love, that and go into how you came on this work. Because this work was something that she introduced to me several years ago when we got together and we formed this organization and got married. But you have a long-standing relationship with this work.
I do.
So,
Yes.
and the story is very profound and very fascinating. And so we want to share a little bit of that for you guys. So, how about we bring it back to the beginning,
Okay.
if there was a
The
beginning?
beginning of what?
I know, right? Because where is the beginning? So, how about like somewhere around like 2002 and like how your life was leading up to your discovery of the framework that is opening to your soul, which we would call soul memory discovery.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I go back to 2002, it was 1 year after the birth of my third son.
Mhm.
I was 33
Mhm.
at the time. and I was on a journey to heal my childhood trauma. It's kind of interesting because if I go back to how I even came up to this work, it was actually initiated by another body of work called path work. If any of
Mm,
you are familiar with path work, it's a body of work that was channeled by Eva Pierikos from the 1950s all the way through the 1980s when she passed away. And she channeled about 250 lectures or so forth.
mm,
And she was channeling this entity called the guide.
mm,
So I was really, really into reading the pathwork lectures because what it was requiring of me is radical honesty on like, what are you doing with your life? Are
mm.
you lying to yourself? Are you making stories up? Are you not living in your truth? You know, what is it that you're hiding? What is it that is making you or causing you to be stuck in the
Yeah.
growth of your consciousness? So I printed out all of these lectures and I had like a stack of them this high. And I started reading them while my baby was asleep.
Mm,
And one of the things that we did every day is we took a nap. I didn't nap, but he took a 3 hour nap.
mm,
And what I would do is I would just go into the room with him and he'd nap with me and I'd study and I'd meditate at the same time. And you have to remember, I have two other sons at this time, age 7 and 10.
mm,
So having three boys and finding very little time for myself. So I basically took this 3 hour window that I had once per day and I maximized it. So that being said, I started to meditate daily and I started, it was also reading the work of Barbara Ann Brennan,
mm.
Hands of Light and Light Emerging, another amazing channel.
She is, yeah.
And so with that, I started to do this work of activating my chakras and exploring the human energy field. I taught myself how to see my auric field.
Mm.
I started playing with the power that was coming out and emanating from my hands and my body. And yeah, I don't know where you want to go with
I don't
this,
know. It's
but
like
like I
it
could go
could
on
go
and on and
right.
on. So
It could go
yeah.
so deep. I mean, some of the stories that she's told me are just so amazing. I think probably will provide some space. Join us in our retreat. I'm sure
Right.
you'll learn a little bit
You'll
more
hear a
about
lot
it.
more. Yeah.
So yeah,
So, where do you want me to go with this? How I came to Ellen's work, or
yeah, because yeah, there was one really interesting thing that happened. I think that led you to Ellen. It's like a guide came to you.
oh, okay,
Perhaps maybe
okay,
we can get to that. Yeah.
sure. So while I was meditating each day, I got to the point where I was able to create an aperture or a portal opening that was about 4 or 5 feet in front of my face. And through this aperture, light would come through and it would pulse into the room. And it wasn't just energetically, it was like with my eyes open, I could see it in the physical, right?
Mhm.
Physical energetic, right? And a little periwinkle light came out and it started to pulse. And that pulse, if I just concentrated on that, it would get bigger and bigger and bigger till to the point where it was the whole room was periwinkle. And there was this beautiful feminine mother, divine mother energy coming through. Very supportive
Mm,
because you have to remember, I just had a baby.
mm,
And that being said, I became very drawn to this energy and I wanted to come back to this meditation day after day after day after day because this entity or this energy would come through.
mm,
And I felt so seen and so supported. And I'm like, wow, something's happening here. My channel is opening up, right? So I was really stoked for that. So I got to know this energy a lot more, and she told me her name was Danu. She
mm.
actually appeared to me one night in the middle of the night when I was sleeping, and I opened up my eyes and I saw this little fairy. So she appeared to me in a fairy form as an elemental,
Mm.
and it scared the bejeebers out of me. And so when I saw her, I opened my eyes like I was excited and like and I scream, and then she goes away. I'm like, no, come back, come back. I'm sorry.
She
I'm
got scared.
scared. Yeah.
She got scared just as much as you.
Right. And like, come back. I want to see you again.
Mm,
So I started to get a lot of downloads at that point, and my channel was open. I was getting all these downloads.
mm,
Well, simultaneously, my 11-year-old son, because there's 10 years between him and my youngest, my 11-year-old son was already showing signs of rebellion. And he was like ditching school and doing all these things. And he really had this like wild streak about him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, I started to look into maybe what would be the spiritual reason for that. And I came across a body of work called Spiritually Healing the Indigo Child. And I don't know how many of you out there have ever heard of the term indigo starseed, right? Or indigo. Well, what ended up happening is I identified myself as an indigo,
Mm-hmm.
and I identified my son as an indigo starseed.
For sure.
And if you have done any study on the indigo star races, you will know that there's like indigo types. There's like indigo 1, indigo 2, indigo 3, and there's different points and purpose to when indigo started to incarnate onto the planet.
Yeah.
Well, my son was an indigo type that was here to be a disruptor. He was here to disrupt the status quo, really, and to put a kink in the way that society is holding energy for our collective growth, right?
That he did.
Or lack of, right?
Or lack of, yeah.
And so that happened, and I needed to understand that in a greater way so that I could actually support him on this mission. So rather than look at that as like bad behavior, I was like, oh, this is something that is actually necessary. We need these types of whistleblowers and disruptors because that's how you get things to move and to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't, trying to like beat him into submission. It was more like, let me understand this in a greater way.
Yeah.
And through that, I came to find out about a woman. Her name is Ellen Kaufman Dosick and her husband, Rabbi Wayne Dosick. They had a center for spiritual healing in Costa, California. This is in Southern California. And they were running a course on spiritually healing the indigo child or the indigo adult. Mm-hmm. And this was an in-person course, mm-hmm. and it was a certification course. So I took this course. Now you have to remember, I didn't come to this work until 2005. So you're noticing like a gap. So from between 2003 that we started here, 2002, and then moving all the way to 2005. If you can remember, I said I adopted a daily meditation practice. So I continued on that practice. Mm. I spent at least 3 hours every day meditating, ongoing. It never lapsed.
With Calvin.
With Calvin.
Yeah.
With Calvin.
I'm sure he was meditating.
Yes, every day. It was amazing. So I come to this body of work, spiritually healing the adult indigo. I go through it. It's a process work, by the way. And Andrew and I have actually led our community through this process work. It's very profound. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a DIY course in our network. So if you're interested in this, let us know. You can get access to that.
Totally.
So took the course, got certified, and it was absolutely life-changing for me. It helped me to understand myself. It helped me to understand my children because not only was my oldest son an indigo, so was my middle son. And so that helped me to understand what I needed to do moving forward. And it wasn't exactly glamorous because I will share that being an indigo starseed comes with a lot of challenge because there are 17 wounds that the indigo starseed carries. And so it's necessary for us to understand those wounds and clear those wounds so that we can fully receive our mission purpose on this planet, really understand that.
Yeah.
So from learning this certification program, I learned that Ellen was actually teaching people how to become a soul memory discovery facilitator, which is her greater body of work. Mm-hmm. And soul memory is a spiritual modality that was initiated about 40 years ago. And it was initiated by a group of channels, and Ellen was one of those channels. She went on to take this body of work and expand it. So, the process of soul memory discovery is opening up the Akashic records and the Akashic field. It's the memory banks of our soul. So we open that up, we go into the memory banks, and we start to tease out and pull out the karmic pieces.
Yeah.
So we go back into the timelines. We see where we had a karmic experience, and then we go through and we apply healing to that. So it's a lot like a regression. We learn how to set sacred space. We learn how to clear our fields. We learn how to clear negative entities and attachments and devices and
Yep.
all kinds of really interesting things. And then there's this beautiful process work, and it's based on the power of our words, the power of our word becoming manifested into the reality, because we're basically casting spells with our words. And so it teaches us how to use very specific wording in order to elicit very powerful changes. It's alchemy. It absolutely is. So I went and I took her course, and it was 72 hours in person. So I basically spent 2 weeks at her house with 40 other students, and we got certified. And in this certification process, Ellen got people from the community, basically random people, to come into her space.
Yeah.
And we all did a 3-hour session with a person that we had never met before. And it included having to open up a past life timeline and do a clearing. So it was, it was nerve-wracking because I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that. But sure enough, we were all able to do it. So we got our certifications, and part of the process of being able to work with other people and monetize our work is that she required 100 hours of practicum.
That's right.
Free, right? So I did it. So my process at the time was about 3 hours long. So I spent about 3 hours with each person, and I did 30 sessions.
Probably
right?
around 30 sessions.
It was 30
right?
sessions.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But I got so much great information and so much good feedback from that practicum time that by the time I was done with my practicum and I opened up a practice, I had a lot of clients.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I was really stoked at the time to be able to do this type of work because it very much resonated with me, and I felt very comfortable doing this type of work.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an amazing thing that came your way, right? Through this unfolding.
It was.
And I just want to touch on the time that you spent in practicum hours and with clients.
Yes.
And so what I wanted to ask, what are some of the results or like epiphanies that you saw in your clients as you were working with them through time?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to share with you, when I worked with the clients in the past, I used to have these yellow legal notepads. I'm sure you've seen them. They're the large ones, right? The yellow with the lines.
Yeah.
And I would write down all the things that they wanted to tell me. And I had so many notes. I was, basically in research mode, and I was just taking the information in. I wanted to know all about all the things that they'd ever experienced. And so they were opening up to me about alien abductions, about spirit attachments, about past lives, that we were opening up together and healing the karma, from these past life experiences.
Did you say past lives both on and off planet?
Yes, both on and off planet, and also time spent as spirit guides between incarnations, which was really cool. And then we were also looking at devices and implants in the body that had been placed and clearing those. And it was absolutely profound. So the people that came to work with me, They called me again and again because they loved it. It was basically like
Mm.
peeling the layers of an onion. And so we enter into the work, and when we do the work, we don't do a lot of repeat. There's other processes that we go through. So we basically incarnate with like 7 volumes of like karmic lessons, right? And so we systematically work through these 7 volumes and then become more clear. And as we clear our karmic load, the central channel becomes more permeable to our point of essence, which is our essence self, so that that information can come down and we can receive it clearly.
Yes.
Because basically, if we're holding a lot of blocks, all of this cosmic energy is unable to penetrate us. And so we feel more lost.
Mm, yes. Yes, that definitely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of it seems to me like meeting halfway. Like you
Exactly.
prepare yourself to open, and so it's like there's a certain rising up, but there's
Yeah.
also a descent
Yep.
coming
There's a
down
dissension
to meet in the
process.
middle.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Yeah. The last question I think
Mhm.
that I want to ask is in let's bring it back to you.
Okay.
So in the process, through this whole process of soul memory discovery, what would you say are some of like the benefits, what some of the results or epiphanies that you experienced personally?
Okay. So one of the biggest things, and I want to go back to the 2000s, one of the biggest things that was a life changer for me is I was at that time I was in a very abusive relationship. The man that I was married to was verbally abusive, physically abusive, and I felt trapped. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other people that have been in these spaces where you feel trapped in a marriage that isn't supporting you in your highest timeline. It isn't allowing you to grow and to thrive. And so that reflection is no longer beneficial for you. It's time to move away from that reflection and grow and expand. And it can be scary as fuck. All right. Scary as fuck because you find yourself in a situation where you become dependent or you have a family and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to release myself from this? Is it the right decision? Should I stay in something that doesn't serve me, right? For the sake of my children? And there is a lot to consider. Okay.
Sure.
When I became certified in this work, that became the end of my marriage. It basically unknotted me or unfurled
You
me
like started it.
from that experience, and it was the ending. It was the beginning of the end. And that was hard. I'm not going to say that that was an easy experience, but that was a necessary experience for me. And so when I was released from that container that I was in, I was actually not able to practice soul memory discovery anymore.
That's
And the
right.
reason why is because the courts made me stop. I was in a custody battle at the time, and my former husband was using it as a tool against me because it's woo woo. And he put that in front of the courts, and the courts basically said that they didn't want me doing anything like that because it wasn't good for our son that we had together. So,
You basically came into contact with an Agent Smith in the Matrix.
right.
Just
Yeah, totally.
shut it down. Yeah.
So I was devastated to say the least because I was actually supporting myself financially from this, and it was a good way of supporting myself. So I actually had to find a different way. I opened up an art gallery. And that's a whole nother story.
Right.
So
Totally.
we'll go down that path at another time. But I had to put this work away.
Hmm.
I didn't put it away in its entirety because I continued to utilize the work for my own growth rather than using it with other people. And there was a handful of people that we continued to play. We
Hmm.
continued to play in the esoteric together.
Hmm.
I just wasn't using it to make money
Hmm.
anymore. Okay.
Until it came back.
Right.
So Otis returns.
Yes. And then I knew for the longest time that I wanted to bring this work back. And after Andrew and I started this galactic community, which is what, going on 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going on 3 years now.
Hmm.
I wanted to bring it back. And I'm like, I'm trained, I'm certified. So not only am I certified in the soul memory work for 19 years now and the indigo healing, I went on to become a soul memory master teacher. And I learned this process that's called opening to your soul. And this is what we're going to be talking about here. So, opening to your soul is a bridge process. So basically, it's the soul memory work.
Hmm.
As a facilitator, I can facilitate a soul memory session, which is very comprehensive. But in the opening to your soul work, this was designed for my clients to have a way to come to the work each and every day on their own. And the reason why this is so important is it helps you, the sovereign being, not lean on readers as a crutch. It helps for you to develop your own channel, open your own channel, learn how to get your own guidance. It doesn't mean that you're not ever going to work with someone, right? Because you can come and you can do your own work, and then, twice a month or once a month, you can work with somebody else.
Hmm.
But it really puts the bulk of the responsibility of your own spiritual evolution
Hmm.
on yourself. And that's important. It
Totally.
really is. It's like it's a requirement that we all come into our own version of spirituality. We can be given the tools, but it's very necessary that we find our own voice in all of the process.
That's very
Each and
true.
every person is so completely different that we need just that thing that is the inspiration or the catalyst so that we can actually find our own process in that, find the
Yes.
truth of our soul.
Yes. And that's really what it comes down to with this
Mm-hmm.
work. It's like these are very specific processes,
Mm-hmm.
but the processes open you up to
Yeah.
your own innate wisdom. And
Yep.
so this is like it can catalyze your own offering, like if you're going to create something else. And so
Yep.
that's something that we're going to talk about too, and and when we interview Anastasia here coming up in a second here,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I think for me, my like me going through this work last year for the first time ever was super cool. Like I played the role of essentially holding the space for everyone's journeys to evolve through the work. And in my own case, it's like connecting more deeply to my karmic unfoldment and
Mm-hmm.
seeing some of the main chunks come up in front of
Yeah.
me was something that was very, very useful to me to start breaking down, but also, also very challenging. Another really amazing thing was discovering my connection to Andromeda and
Right.
my connection to some of my favorite spiritual guides. So,
So learning
um,
about your starseed lineage, your
mhm.
starseed origins,
Yes,
it's kind of cool.
that's a really, really fun
Yeah.
part too. So, it's like strengthening that inner wisdom, right? And like feeling much more grounded in purpose in delivering my wisdom forth on the earth.
Yes.
So bringing it down to tangible creation is basically what we've been working on in creating our whole organization.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to, before we end my interview, I want to go back again into what happened with me. So I ended up leaving my marriage and
Mm.
doing the thing and opening up the art gallery. But what I want to share with you is that this work helped me to open my third eye in the most amazing way,
Mm.
that in 2012, my third eye blasted open and I had full galactic contact. And I'm not going to talk about that today. We might talk about it during the retreat. So if you come to the retreat and learn about that, that was huge. That was huge for me. It changed my entire life.
Hmm.
I packed up all my stuff in California, loaded up my little Chevy Malibu, and left the state of California and drove myself to Oregon, not knowing anybody, and started a new life.
Yeah.
I got to be a different person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, when you leave your old life and you go someplace else, you can just create a new identity, the identity that you want to be, that you want to become. Because I no longer had to be the reflection of my old self.
Hmm.
with people projecting that onto me, right? And so then I got to create myself anew. And that was very important for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The story is incredible, and I hope that you get a chance to hear it. So definitely invite you to join us on our retreat.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Well, cool. I think that brings us right around to uh, transitioning into our guest speakers.
Yay.
So we have a couple of really special guests with us today. Actually, uh, that's not true. One of them is with us today. One of them actually couldn't join us live, but she was able to record a video,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're going to play the video um, after the first guest.
All right.
So our first guest that we'd like to introduce to you is one of our graduates of our Opening to Your Soul cohort last year, and she is Anastasia Smith. And I'm going to just spot add you on the spotlight. And let's see if that works on
There we
the live.
go.
Is it working on the
Is
live?
it is it coming up? Yeah, I'm seeing both of us on the Facebook when I
On the
talk.
Facebook? Oh,
Awesome.
perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
So hi, Anastasia. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. It was so lovely to hear your story, even though I've heard it again. There's always a new
Always.
part of it that I haven't heard before.
Right? Totally. It's really cool how that works. So I wanted to just introduce everyone to you, real quick to you. And so Anastasia Smith is a belly dance teacher. She's actually our belly dance teacher, my wife's. She is a very talented artist, a
Mm.
painter, and she is a creative mindset coach. And this is something that you've been developing, and I know I want to give you some space to speak about. So I wanted to tap into this aspect about the opening to your soul work, which is that these processes, although specific, can allow you to like use it in a unique way. It's
Mhm.
like you don't have, it's like you can create your own thing out of it. And that this really helped you to open the doors to that sort of creation process for you. And you have a very unique offering, a unique work, which involves embodiment through dance, as well as a few other
Yeah,
things.
so that was
I
kind of the
wanted to
phrase we
ask,
came up with when we were workshopping this was the
yeah.
embodiment of spiritual healing. Um,
Hmm.
belly dance is a huge community around the world, and there are many ways of doing it. And um, it's something I got into through reenactment 30 years ago, just kind of dancing around the fire and having a good time. Very community oriented, right? Not very much about performance or spotlight, but when you get up there and you're doing something magical, people are going to watch. So that's kind of how I started. And I've never been a spotlight kind of person. Like if I'm doing something magnetic, I know that people are going to watch me, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is really to connect with myself. And then if it appeals to other people, I will invite them as spectators or as participants, hopefully as participants, because I really do push for that as much as possible. But then, over the years, learning to respect that not everybody can do this or wants to do this or is built to do whatever it is that I'm doing. So for me, the opening to your soul, I did the first half of it pretty faithfully, and then I just kind of dropped in and gave support for the rest of the program as everybody else was doing it. And it was very interesting because I've been in the what's the other program, the Soul Biz Accelerator for a year and a half now. And I joined that program because I had seen some other art marketing programs that I was using for my visual art, and I wasn't really ready to commit to them, like put the money into it and really take the time. But trying them out and really doing proof of concept, like these are working. I see people are making, six-figure incomes with this kind of online marketing program. And now my dance student and her husband, who are friends of mine, and I've done a bunch of coaching with them previous to this program, are opening up the Soul Biz Accelerator, as it's now called. So I jumped on that thinking this is a really unique combination of the feel that I want in my work, because I don't want to be super marketing. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to force people into a program they're not interested or talk them into something that after they commit to it, they're not happy with, right? I want to find the people that need this in their life, that share something deep with me. And we know they're out there. It's just how do we connect with them? How do we get our story out there, right? So that's kind of how I started with this program. And when Open to Your Soul came up, I was like, okay, let's try it. This is not in the center of what I need to be doing. Like my work is very spiritual, emotional. I was describing it to a colleague the other day as therapy adjacent. I don't have the certifications for therapy, but my path to get here has been very much about learning to understand what motivates us as humans and sort of our animal sides. I worked with dogs and horses for a long time doing training, and I teach children and I work with dementia. I've got a couple of clients that are doing watercolor classes with me, specifically because one of them is in the onset of dementia and her best friend wants to continue to do things that will keep her as sharp as possible for as long as possible. So we
Amazing.
are working on the ends of life, the beginning and the end, and
Wow.
really exploring how the different creative expressions affect us. But then we get to the center of life when we're living it and realize that we're maybe not doing what we're meant to do, and that's sort of universal frustration. Greek philosophers talked about it, and it's an everyday thing. Every day you get up and you do what you have to do, but you wonder why you're doing it, right? And for most of us, our motivation is family and community because we have these emotional connections with the things around us that maybe we can't really describe. So for me, opening to your soul wasn't so much I want to be educated so I can use this technique to do spiritual healing on people, as it was something that was helping me to define who I am, what I have to offer, and why that's important to people who aren't me. My particular form of belly dance, because I don't come from I need to be in the spotlight, I need to be super sexy, I'm going to get out there and prove myself better than anybody else, because I'm not a competitive person. Like I would say I'm on the extreme not competitive end of the spectrum. I don't want to compete with you ever. I want to build you up. And
Yeah.
that will give me what I need to build myself up. That's how I work. I feel like a lot of us would work that way if we hadn't been raised to think that competition is somehow sacred. And I have
Hmm.
so much of this philosophical thinking and I don't have much outlet for it, because every once in a while you get drunk with your friends, especially in your 20s, and you talk about stuff like this, but it's a fluke. It's not a lifestyle, right? But I think those of us who are attracted to this program, we need this to be at the center of our lives, right? Maybe not spirituality in the same way Alana's doing it, but spirituality in the way that we find what feeds our soul and we prioritize that. And it's really easy to prioritize human relationships and to say, I had a son, and that son is my reason for living. But that's only part of your life. Your son is only your reason for living for 10, 15 years. And after that, if your son is your reason for living, you're doing it wrong, right? So you can repeat that with several children. But at some point, you have to come to terms with the idea that you are here for a purpose. And that purpose is not other people. That purpose is within you, and then finding out what that purpose is. So my journey as an artist has been pretty typical. People will say, "Oh, you can't make money doing that, so do something else." So I got a theater degree and I worked backstage in theater for 20 years. Um, Turns out that wasn't satisfying. Like I need personal expression and I love working with a group of people. So when I'm talking about how other people cannot for long term over a lifetime be your purpose, that's what I'm talking about. For me, I never had children, but I was always in a unit that functioned as a unit, right? So career wise, working with 80 stagehands and 80 dancers on a big Las Vegas production, or those big movie productions where you're filming and you're bringing people in from all over the world and you're working intimately with them on 16-hour shifts for 2 weeks and then you never see them again. But the ability to go into those groups like that or smaller groups, function as a unit, prioritize the group purpose, and then to walk back out and say, okay, I'm back to my own purpose. So shifting your purpose back and forth. And when we did the opening to your soul, that came up more and more for me. Like, my purpose is not only for me,
Hmm.
but I have to express it in a way that makes sense for me. And for visual art, but especially for dance, my body is my resource that tells me if I'm doing it right.
Hmm.
So when I'm teaching dancers, we're looking at how their body is reacting and what it is telling them to tell them when they're on the right track. Now, belly dance has a long history of intuitive movement, and all of the different cultures have built up their own different ways of doing it. So we're talking about hundreds of cultures in the Middle East and in North Africa, all along the Silk Road is kind of where we come from. A fusion of sacred dances in India and the traveling peoples, the Romani, and what each little individual group developed on their own and how they shared it with the people that they came into contact with. And that's such a beautiful metaphor for what all of us are doing in this world, right? We have our own personal way of doing things. We have our family way of doing things. We have our cultural way of doing things. And then anytime we meet somebody from the outside, we're influenced by them. We share influence with them. And so it becomes this big, like I was saying with the stagehand work, it becomes these big people coming together with common purpose. And then when you leave, you have new elements in your own skills. So for me, opening to your soul really was a realization that I'm doing this for me. I'm doing it for purely selfish reasons, but those selfish reasons include the health of the people around me and their own spiritual healing. And if I'm just going to dance, it is not going to fulfill my purpose. But dancing with other people, around other people, and sharing my energy with them so that when we walk away from each other, we've all come away with more than what we came into the situation with. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the realization I had during that open to your soul process. And it was really amazing to see how something that seemed like it was sort of peripheral to my life could open my own personal motivations and give me so much clarity and a sense of wonder in the world and that sense of purpose that we're all looking for. Like, this is for me. It's developed because it is the things that work for me, but I'm not doing it only for me. I'm doing it in the way that I'm doing it and sharing it with other people so that they can reflect it back to me and we all get stronger. There's
Of that.
oh, I don't know what the right word for the history and religion is, a Vedic tradition of the net of light where each of us
Indra.
is imagining how there's a Star Trek where they do this and it's a big barrier and each little node shines and you can kind of see it as you fly your starship up close to it and they're all
Yeah.
networked together, right?
Yeah.
So in this spiritual tradition, each one of those is a soul and each one of us can burn brighter, but we're also mirroring all of the people, the souls in this network with us. And if
Mm.
they burn brighter, then we also burn brighter. So the
Mm.
brighter I burn, the more reflection comes back to me, the more resources I have
Yeah.
to continue to burn brighter, right? And I don't know if that's a tradition you're familiar with, Andrew. I'll have to look up the specific name, but I do think it comes from
Called,
India, right?
yes, it's called Indra's Net. Indra's Net.
Yeah.
Indra's the name of the deity. And yes, it's very much like that. It's as if like you have like a water droplet and a whole bunch of water droplets and those each one of those reflects each one of the water droplets. So all of them are reflecting each other. And of course, what happens when you shine light through water in the prism.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And we
beautiful.
all get brighter and we all get more colorful because we're sharing that light. And this is, I said something about this the other day in our meeting. This is, I live on Lakota land. And the saying here is Mitakuye Oyasin. And I do not know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because I have not done the language lessons yet, but they're becoming more available. But that means we are all one. And it's true in spiritual traditions around the world. All the true connected spiritual traditions say we are all one, right? But we are also individual. We are both at the same time. The Christian tradition I was raised in was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. They are all one, but they're all separate, right? And we are
Totally.
all a part of that. We're one and we're separate. And so for me, bringing that into a very, very physical thing like dance is I am a dancer and an individual, and you are a dancer and an individual. You are a person that moves through space using a body, right? So whether you call that dance or not, we have that in common. But then outside of this reality, we are all one energy. We are all one thing undifferentiated. And those are both true at the same time, right? And so the opening to your soul work really allows that to make sense. And so
Mhm.
when I'm in my real world, in my ego, in my individuality, and feeling alone, which happens a lot, I can come back to that feeling that I have through this work and know that I'm supported. So for me, I don't have a lot of amazing visions or dreams or stories to tell, but I do have this passion and I have this connection. And I've got one little story that I want to tell you from this morning. Going back to last summer, there's a therapist that works with horses out here, and he does beautiful sessions with them once a year. And I was able to go to his session with the horses last year. And one of the things that we were doing is he would feel where your energy field was and then interact with it in different ways and use that to bring realizations about how you are interacting with the world. And so pretty much everybody, he would put his hands up a couple inches away from their body where their energy field kind of started to ramp down. And for me, mine was about 3 feet away from me.
Mm.
And that's because my work requires me to encompass other people and other animals. I worked with horses long enough to know that their energy field goes about 7 feet away from them, depending on how big they are. Um, and this is a real physical thing for me. It's not something I have to go into a spiritual place to feel. The first time I felt the energy field from a horse, it was chilly outside. It was nighttime, and I walked towards her and I went, wow, I just got warmer. I got warmer, 15 feet away from her, but my temperature sensors on my body were my indicator that something was changing.
Yeah.
And I've gotten much more subtle since then, but I'm sure that the process of working with animals and learning energy through their way of interacting with the world has helped me to develop that sort of expansive. But I was thinking about it this morning. I have 3 apartments in my building and 2 next door that I manage, and they're all my people. And
Mhm.
out of these 5 apartments, there's only one apartment that doesn't understand yet because they're new that they are my people. The rest of them know this. And they know it on an energetic level. I'm very fortunate with the people that live here and the mutual support that we have. But I was thinking about it when I first started doing like pagan practices. I had people teach me how to energetically shield yourself, right? And then they would teach me how to energetically shield your home. And some of them are incredibly effective techniques that I use pretty regularly because I feel better when I use them, right? So keeping your space clear, keeping your space both connected and protected. So things can come and go, but they're the things that you've invited, right? So opening space, like Alana and I were doing in our session, our last dance session, opening space to invite things in and then squeezing that space close to then reopen it. So taking everything that we don't want. And it's not so much about pushing out, but just making sure there's no space for the things that you don't want because we've invited so many good things in. So
Mm.
I'm not only doing this in my own auric fields and making it larger, but I am taking this space protecting idea that I got from Wiccans and pagans and using it on all 5 of these apartments in this whole corner. And it's spilling over a little bit into the neighbors that I talk to on either side of us. And this is a very real physical thing. This is me paying other people's rent when they're late. This is me putting my real world everyday resources into protecting them so they don't have to pay late fees. So that when the landlord comes to me and says, why are they late again? I can say they weren't late. It was in your account at the right time because I trust that they're going to get it to me before I need it. So it's a very mutual thing, but it's that Indra's net reflection. They're they're part of my community and we're mutually supportive. You can't do this with just anybody. This level of trust is something that has to be built up. It has to be something that's sustained over time. But this is what I'm doing with my dancers and with my artists too. We're building each other up, we're protecting each other, holding each other in
Hmm.
an energy field that has some very physical components as we do this. And I think that opening to your soul and going through that process over the last, what, 6, 8 months has been a really key part of me understanding what I'm doing and then being able to do it in a much more clear way.
Definitely.
Beautiful, Anastasia.
I have something that I'd like to add because I just want to say that when we learn this work of soul memory discovery, we understand that all of the memories that we've ever experienced to ever live somewhere in our auric field as well as our physical body. So this is including all of our past life memories, including our traumas. And I want to share with all of you that Anastasia is my personal belly dance coach. And we meet twice a week. It's always an early morning session. But I am not dancing just for the sake of dancing. My experience with Anastasia is one where we are actually really looking at what's being held in the physical
Yeah.
body. And as I shared with all of you, I come from childhood sexual abuse as my past, right? And so I'm holding that. So even though I've done a lot of work in my lifetime, there are places in my body and in my art field that I have been holding on to threads of trauma pieces because it's
Hmm.
not all clear. So even though I've been doing the work, there's still residue in the
Yeah.
system. And so what we're doing is we're looking at that and we are analyzing where this is happening in the body and form, where we feel stuck. And rather than just keep dancing, 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 what we do is we stop and we process and we allow the emotional body to purge.
Yeah.
And so being seen, being heard, being allowed to rant, right? Being allowed to express. It's an important part of healing. You know, many of us repress our feelings. We shut them down because they're ugly, they're not savory, and nobody wants to hear that, right? Well, no, that's not true because in order for us to heal, we have to be able to feel our feelings. And they're not all, strawberries and roses. and and so like our body has to release this, and when our body starts to release the density of these experiences, we feel more light, we feel more free, we feel more connected, we start to feel our body again. So many of us are
It's
numb,
beautiful. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so this is taking a spiritual body of work and applying it towards something else and having a result that's equally as powerful. You're just
Yes.
applying it a little bit differently.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Ah, so much wisdom that comes
definitely.
through. That's so cool. So, Anastasia, we have been helping you to build something, and this is something that I think would be amazing to share because for all of you who are listening, who are resonating with this work of embodiment through dance,
Mhm.
Anastasia's been building something. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been a huge struggle for me. And one of the reasons I like the opening to your soul so much is because it clarified like where I am. There are so many great dancers out there that are teaching online that are better than I'm ever going to be. You know, they've had more time to work on it, better instruction. They're just built for it in ways that maybe I'm not. And so that it makes it hard to go out there and say, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Um, but looking at what I uniquely have to offer, right? And the things that I am giving, even though there's better belly dance instructors, people that can dance better than me, that know how to do it better than me, even here in this little tiny town, we've got better dancers than me. Nobody else is communicating and protecting, explaining what happens and supporting people as they learn. Because I'll tell you what, belly dancing is incredibly emotional. And, for most of us, cis women especially, we can get out there and we can fit into what we're expected to fit into. We had a trans woman come to a class once, and at the end of the class, she and her wife were crying for about 20 minutes. Like it was that intense to see yourself moving in a feminine way in a mirror with other women around you and to be able to just process yourself as a female when that's been such a struggle for her. It was
Uh,
it was amazing.
Hmm.
And I'd love to facilitate more of that. I did the Sultry Shimmy workshop here in town the other day, and there was a man in there. He's balding. He's like, it's too hot to wear a wig, so I'm not going to dress for this. He's straight. He has children. He is not interested in alternative sexuality in that way, but he likes to be a flamboyant performer and to have space where you can be protected and do that safely and find your self-expression, whether that's your full-time persona or whether it's just something you want to put on for performances, is such a magical thing. So we've got all of these different ways of being. But for me, what belly dance is about, and also what visual arts is about, is self-expression, right? So all of the many different things that I do, it kind of come down to that. Like, how do you express yourself? And how many of us actually know who we are, right? We have a whole lifetime to figure that out. And we probably knew it when we were 5 years old. And then we learned other things. And so for me, the process is kind of getting back to the root of what you are as an adult. How do you want to move through the world? What is going to make you happy? Because I guarantee you, the things you think that you were taught are should make you happy are not the things that are actually going to fulfill you. So happiness is maybe the wrong term. But when you're doing the right things, the things that allow you to be excited when you get up in the morning and to go to bed knowing that you had the right day and that the next day is going to be good as well. There's a question alive from Matt Payne saying, "Do you think I could belly dance?" Like, absolutely, you could.
Yes.
I've
That,
got a couple of
go
students right
ahead.
now that have no rhythm and are so disconnected from their bodies that it's a struggle. And doesn't mean they can't belly dance. It just means jumping into a class with a bunch of other people is going to be really awkward for them. But
You can do it
yeah,
from
the
home.
rhythm and the sense of movement, and then we build everything else from that. And we've got such a great world community. But coming back to my offering, because I get distracted on all the things I'm excited about, what we're putting together in the Noah Genesis Network is a little space called Sisters Dance Tribe, which is the name of the classes my sister and I teach. That's our little group here. And we've got in-person classes a couple times a week. I've been trying to move those online in ways that can add more people to our group of subscribers and dancers. And so the first offering that we've got is going to be some short, like 20-minute recorded dance sessions that give you the basics of belly dance. So the isolations where you can move one part of your body while keeping another part still.
Nice.
And this is something that goes into any kind of dance or movement practice, right? Being able to control each part of your body separate. But the emphasis that we're putting on this for the Noah Genesis Network is the energy, like Alana was talking about. We're not necessarily just going to dance through things. We're going to say, wait, what did that do in my body? Because your body is holding your emotions and your traumas. And, we all have things. One of the big things I'm working through is not an emotional trauma. It's falling off a horse 20 years ago and crushing the right side of my body. Um, and the soft tissue damage from that, I'm just unwinding layer by layer. And sometimes that's a huge struggle and it takes a lot of support and a lot of awareness. And Alana and I, a couple of weeks ago, we were working with some back pain and did a lot of realignment work before we danced. And I'll tell you what, that 20 years ago accident, I released something in this shoulder right here that has been there for 20 years that, before I couldn't even feel it other than just like every day you hunch your shoulders, you feel bad, right?
Mhm.
That cracked that loose and it hasn't come back.
Nice.
So there's
Wow.
some magic in this in a very physical sense. There's some magic in this in the sort of addressing emotions and trauma. But then there's also the magic of the deep past life healing and universal healing that Alana teaches about. Like that's happening too. I'm doing this work for myself, but myself is so much bigger than my awareness is right now while I'm embodied.
So cool.
Thank you.
Right on. So stay tuned, everyone. If you're resonating with this body of work, then you can find Anastasia on Facebook, Anastasia Smith Arts, or you have just your personal profile, correct? Anastasia Smith.
I've
And
got, yeah. So Anastasia Smith Arts is the visual art. We've got Sisters Dance Tribe, which is where we post all the stuff about our local dance, but I'm also going to be posting stuff about the online classes there as well. If I can get 2 or 3 people interested in live streaming or Zooming, we'll restart doing that. We stopped doing that a while ago, but definitely as we get more more people involved. We'll be doing some live classes, maybe Zoom, so you can get feedback. And then I'm going to
Awesome.
have the recorded things up on Noah Genesis really soon. We've got one up there now, and we're going to do
Yep.
a special like opening offer so I can get some feedback from you guys and you can really help me flesh it out and make sure it's coming through on the technical end of things really clearly. So yeah, if you're interested, drop me a message. Find me on Facebook, check out Sisters Dance Tribe, follow us there, and we'll get you into the
Nice.
online dance as soon as that's up and ready.
Yay, come
Cool.
play with us.
Definitely.
All
Thank you so
right.
much,
Yeah.
Anastasia. So beautiful to
Yeah,
hear.
it's so great to chat with you.
Yes,
All
indeed.
right.
All right. So we have one last guest speaker spotlight. Here we are. And so this is from our dear friend and student, Heather Rose. And she couldn't make it live today, but she did record a video.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to share the video. It's about 7 minutes long or so for you all. And oh, just as an introduction, Heather Rose is developing a very beautiful space, a very beautiful container called Compass Rose Healing. She's very diverse in her healing gifts, and such as Reiki and tarot and channeling. And so,
Hmm.
very, very beautiful offering. And she's got a story to tell for sure.
Yes.
So, I'm going to play the video here. All right.
I met Alana and Andrew back in December of 2022. I was in the middle of a very emotional separation from a emotionally abusive, narcissistic marriage. And this is after I had done so much work on myself. I guess you have to really understand the whole story. So a quick background. I was born into a family of codependents and addicts, alcoholics, abusers, um, many narcissists in my family. At age 13, I started smoking pot and drinking, and at age 15, I became addicted to Oxycontin. I also had my first son at age 15, and by the time I was 20, I had 3 sons and a pretty hefty drug addiction, which continued for almost 20 years. I was addicted to various narcotics and living the same type of lifestyle that my family had shown me to live. It was what I had always known, and that's just how I had expressed. And so, after years and years of living for drugs and chasing whatever I was chasing, um, I ended up going to prison to serve a 3-year sentence for selling methamphetamine, which changed my life. While I was in prison, I did a million different classes and programs, and I took course after course. I got certified to be a drug and alcohol treatment counselor. I knew that I was going to use my experiences to help other people going through the same thing. However, in my mind, I guess I thought that I was meant to rescue those people from all of those situations, to keep them from experiencing the same things that I had experienced. So while I thought I was healing myself, I was healing myself, but I had thought that I had moved through all of it. I thought that I had healed myself from everything and that I was ready to step into my purpose, and I just knew that my purpose was going to involve uh, a group home for girls, teenage mothers. I knew that I was going to be helping abused women and children of addicts and underprivileged adolescents. So when I met Alana and Andrew, that's the ideas that I proposed to them. I didn't mention my intuitive gifts. I didn't mention that I had a very strong guidance system because I was still arguing with it. I still believed that it was my imagination to a certain extent, even though there had been multiple experiences that confirmed that I really am a intuitive powerhouse, but I just couldn't see it. I couldn't understand it from this human perspective. I was scared. I was scared. And Opening to Your Soul was the program I never knew I needed for that very reason. And it was through Opening to Your Soul that I began to understand that my soul is much bigger than I ever thought possible. And it helped me to trust that guidance that I was receiving instead of discounting it and questioning it and doubting it. It helped me to start to trust myself. And so inadvertently, it showed me that through healing myself and moving through the layers and layers and layers of patterning and programming, that I could help the people that were going through those things that I have been through instead of trying to rescue them from the situations, rather supporting them through the situations. The same way that I had to go through it, they too need to go through it. They don't need to be rescued. They don't need to be saved. And that's ultimately what I learned inadvertently from everything that I learned through Opening to Your Soul. How to trust myself, and that in healing myself, I am helping other people to do the same. And so my soul business has morphed. I am still writing a program called the 12 Steps to Empowerment. So far, I've only gotten the first step done, but it's a process, and I'm doing the best that I can with what I have to work with. I have a lot of things going on in my life right now, but I am offering tarot readings. When you get a tarot reading with me, you are not just getting a traditional tarot reading where we pull some cards and I tell you what the cards say. When you get a reading with me, you also get a healing session. We may do breathing practices. We may do energy clearing. Whatever my guides tell me is in your best interest is what we will do if you work with me. You can message me directly on Facebook. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Heather Rose. I'm still working on that page. So the best way to get in touch with me if you would like to get a reading with me would be to go to my contact on Facebook and send me a direct message on Messenger. That's going to be the quickest and easiest way to get a hold of me. So right now I'm offering Reiki sessions, energy clearings, and tarot readings. But like I said, you get a talk therapy, energetic clearing, karmic release. There's so many things all rolled into one. I don't really know how to pin it all down, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to share it. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my experience with Opening to Your Soul. I send you all love and gratitude, and I'm honored to be here indirectly. Thank you. I love you all.
Awesome. Love you, Heather. So cool.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sister, for your heartfelt presentation.
So much power that comes through in the vulnerability. And I just love just the whole time, like since we've known each other, just like being there and like bouncing ideas off of each other and connecting and through all these growth phases. It's just been so
Right.
good to know you and connect with you.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the really cool things is I'm sure all of you that are watching us that you're noticing with our speakers is the level of transparency and authenticity. And you can see that it's not being glammed up, right? It's just real world growth, radical transformation told from a very authentic place. We don't see that too much on social media anymore.
Right.
We see a lot of fakeness, a lot of like growth that isn't real growth, right? And this is tangible, it's radical, it's real, it's authentic, it's vulnerable. It's your soul, right?
Yeah.
Looking at your soul and being totally unapologetic about how you come to that place.
Yeah.
It's powerful work.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Well said.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Such beauty in being raw.
Right?
Because Mother Nature is that way, right?
All right. Well, we have
All right.
something special to share.
So
yeah.
if you stuck around for the end,
Yeah.
and so we have a very special announcement before we part for today. Remember, we're on for 2 more days after this. We have a couple of very beautiful speakers coming tomorrow, and then one on the last day with a very special announcement on the last day. But today, this day is significant for you who are resonating with this work, who want to take an advantage of something that isn't going to come around again. This is like a very special moment. And so if you are really feeling opening to your soul, you're very interested in this work, we have currently on the table a huge discount, and it's a sliding scale as well. And I think many of you probably have heard so far, but if you haven't, this is over 90% off of the entire program. And so in this, it's like you will get access to a lifetime access to the whole Opening to Your Soul program. You can come back to and refine your skills over a long period of time. And as a bonus, we are including the 5-day online spiritual retreat coming up here in a week on Galactic New Year.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is like one-time only opportunity. We are ending this tonight at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So if you want to take advantage of this, I would say reach out to us by DM. Yep.
So I wanna add in a couple of things
Go for
here.
it, love.
So I want to share with all of you that Andrew and I put this word out about 2 or 3 weeks ago that we would be putting this program out that is $3.5 thousand as it is. It's basically laid out over a 6-month period of processing and doing the work. You can do it faster than that, but it's meant to take you into the depths or the essence of your soul. This program is life-changing. Like I said, we graduated 19 students out of it from last year's cohort. So we put the word out 2-3 weeks ago, and we made it something that was absolutely ridiculously low in cost. That does not mean that we were lowering the cost of the program. There have been a handful of people that have been following us for the last couple of years that could not swing the investment. And we've had your eyes on you, and we wanted to make it easy for you to come into this program. That being said, immediately when we opened up the container, we sold 5 spaces. And that was those of you that have been wanting it, right? And if you pay attention to the work that Andrew and I do, every single time we launch a program, we open this small window for those of you that cannot afford to go into the next level of investment, an opportunity to get in. It's almost like a secret thing. Now, we never repeat this twice. This is not coming around again. So that being said, it is an opportunity for those of you that actually see the value in something like this. It's grand. And I will share with you that I have a certified spiritual life coaching program, and it's not even as comprehensive as this one. I'm saying because I teach you on a different level on that one. This body of work, Opening to Your Soul, will always be growing. What we have online is immense. It's an immense body of work. And what I'm going to bring to you, or what we're bringing to you during the retreat, is the highlights of this program. And So until 9 o'clock tonight, we have this $3,500 program along with a $1,700 value on the retreat and a pendulum masterclass. All of that down to a window that starts at $345 for the whole thing. Okay. So by 9 o'clock tonight, that's disappearing. We have something special to offer you on Friday, but it's not this, it's something else. Okay. And so if you really see the value and the potential of where you can go with this after listening to me, after listening to Anastasia, after listening to Heather, you can absolutely see that there is concrete value on where you can take this. You can take it into your personal life. You can take it into your work. You can take it into all other aspects. So I invite you that are interested, reach out to Andrea and myself. We can provide more clarity. If you know this is for you, then we have a checkout that you can just go to and purchase it directly. Once you purchase this, you will come into our Facebook group, our private Facebook group, and we'll get you all set up.
Yes, indeed.
We are super excited for this. We know this is a beautiful opportunity for those of you, and for those of you that have already gotten in, yay, we're stoked to have you with us. So I think that's it for now for what I have to share.
Yes.
And yeah.
That's it. That's very much it for today. Tomorrow, stay tuned.
Yes.
There are 2 more special guests coming on. We're going to have Rachel speaking about overcoming her story of overcoming addiction and transformation. And we will have Wes talking about embodying our divine soul. So really amazing stuff. Can't wait for it. And we'll see you all tomorrow, same time.
All right, everybody. In la catch.
Much love.